My name is James. I'm a recovering addict and a recovering criminal, and this is Inside Addiction. Growing up for me was a very interesting thing. I found myself in a lot of trouble. I came from a single-parented family. My father spent a lot of time in prison. I had 3 brothers and sisters under me, of which I'm the oldest. And I kind of like gravitated towards the streets. My mother, she wasn't really what I would identify as an addict, but she did use. When her friends came over on the weekends and stuff like that, I've never seen her, like sloppy drunk or high out of her mind, but I know she smoked a lot of marijuana. My father, he was a dope fiend. He shot dope, but he wasn't really active in my life. My grandmother, she drank, and my grandfather, he worked at the port. And that's the extent of what I know about people in my family using. But for me, I kind of gravitated towards the streets at an early age, based on the fact that my father wasn't there. And because of having gravitated towards the streets, I was exposed to a lot of different things at an early age, namely drugs and alcohol, gambling, crime, lying, manipulation, and all of the other stuff that comes with being in the streets. And a lot of the things that I learned in the streets, I kind of began to exercise in my house. And I think that one of the biggest things that happened is that I began to steal from my mother at a young age. And I think that it was associated with my wanting more of the drugs that I was doing at the time, and it was marijuana namely. And with the lying came a lot of other different things that affected the family dynamic in a real big way, because as a result of these things, me and my mother's relationship started to kind of deteriorate. And I went through a lot of different things, and we kind of grew apart. I really didn't have a relationship with, I would say, none of the rest of my family, because we were kind of secluded. My mother always kept, her children kind of together. The rest of the family were doing their things. We only kind of seeing each other around the holidays. So in gravitating towards the streets, I found a lot of the things that I felt like I wasn't getting from my family. And also based on my behavior. Got a lot of spankings when I was young. Spent a lot of time on punishment.
How was school?
School was pretty good. I did real good in school. And I can remember having finished grammar school and going into junior high and doing real good in junior high as far as my academics was concerned. But the problem came in because I had a problem with authority. I was going to Catholic school, and we were kind of it was kind of a requirement for us to wear shirts and ties every day with shoes, and I wanted to wear sneakers, and I didn't want to wear a tie. So as a result of that type of stuff, rebellion and acting out by, wearing clothes that were unacceptable, I kind of got in trouble a lot in school, and as a result of getting in trouble, I began to lose interest. So I stayed, but You know, it was kind of like I had taken on a nonchalant attitude about school. And then later on, I started smoking marijuana before school and stuff like that. And eventually, I just totally lost interest. The first time I used, I was probably about 12 years old, maybe even a little younger. But I remember 12, that kind of sticks out to me because at that point, I had drank some alcohol. I always hung around guys that were older than me, and they were doing different things that like I found really attractive. And I can remember taking my first glass of beer and, you know, getting sick like you wouldn't believe. And like praying that the world would stop spinning and all of that other stuff. And then like getting sick all over the place, and then like recovering from that and turning around and doing it all over again. And then moving to a point of liking it. And then along with that, because I was hanging around other people, there was always a lot of marijuana. So around the age of 12, that's when I started out with the marijuana as well. And at the onset of that, because of a lot of the different things that I was feeling regarding school and all of the other stuff that was going on at home, I kind of like, I liked it. I liked it, and at first it started out recreationally, just using every now and then, or experimentally in the beginning, then recreationally, and then like it became an everyday thing, and it became like the thing that was like biggest in my life.
How old were you at that point?
I was about 14 years old, and you know, I stole from a lot of people. I didn't have a regard for others. The only thing I had a regard for at the age of around 14, 15 was where my next bag of weed was coming from, and who had the best weed, and you know, those type of things. And whether I had, you know, a couple of joints for when I got up the next day, whether I had enough to last me throughout the day. And then there were times, you know, like when I was going through that different stuff, where there was just like a lot of crazy stuff that was going on in my life. And I was wondering, you know, like how it was all coming about. And like today, in hindsight, years and years later, I understand that like I was basically entering a rite of passage, so to speak, into the world of addiction. And the progression of my usage took off, I would say, around the age of 16. But before that, one of the major things that took place in my life is like around at the age of 12. We had moved to Massachusetts for a while, and you know, I got hooked up with some older guys out there, and I started doing a lot of designer drugs experimentally, and you know, a guy ended up, you know, getting killed, and you know, I ended up getting locked up, all three of us, as a result of being on drugs. And then after, you know, having served time and come home, it was a thing where I felt like I owed myself a celebration.